When I first started in practice, I didn't see so much cancer, allergies, GI problems. We just didn't see them that often. And now I think I see them every single day.
The other cats get diabetes. Then there's liver disease, heart disease, kidney disease. So in the last 20 years, since 1996, I have discovered phenomenal changes in the way pets are, and that is a degradation.
You know, obesity problems, which are huge in animals right now. Again, that's 1 in every 2 animals in this country is obese. That's related to the fact that we're feeding them chemicals that don't help them have appropriate weight maintenance.
90% of our animals, even at the age of 6 to 8 months of age, are showing signs of degenerative disc disease. And the main thing that I attribute it to is their diet.
I have a high suspicion that a lot of these skin conditions that I've seen more recently are contributed to what's in their diet.
And if we're putting toxins in on a daily basis, not only are we going to negatively influence the GI immunologic health, but we know now that animals consuming genetically modified foods, that it actually can change the terrain of their GI tract.
We started seeing digestive issues pretty early on, right when we got him, and then it kind of continued with the food that he was on from the breeder.
We are providing a potentially irreversible immunologic consequence from feeding tainted diets on a daily basis.
Well, we know that the root cause of all dis-ease is inflammation. And the inflammation is coming from the leaky gut that's happening due to the hormones, chemicals, pesticides, and particularly the genetically modified ingredients.
So we should be asking ourselves, why are we having really an epidemic of animals suffering from chronic disease? We have to be thinking about the foods that we're feeding.
The problem is that almost every pet food in the United States is toxic.
One of the main reasons I came to the conclusion of blaming GMOs in pet foods for this cluster of health problems is that essentially nothing else in the health background of these animals had been changing from the 1970s to the 1990s to 2000.
One of the biggest injustices that we have done to our pets is what we're feeding them today.
Since GMOs have become much more prevalent in pet foods in the last several years, we're seeing a lot more allergies, we're seeing a lot more cancer, and we're seeing a lot more dogs with, GI type problems.
GMOs are genetically modified organisms. Scientists take genes from one species like bacteria or viruses and force it into other species like soybeans and corn. Or they can rearrange the genes within the same species. GMOs were introduced into the food supply in the United States in the late 1990s. And since then, many diseases in the human population have been rising in parallel with increased consumption. Many veterinarians are seeing the same kind of things in their practice.
So there was no other reason to account for this cluster of diseases suddenly appearing, with the appearance and increasing inclusion of genetically engineered ingredients in manufactured dog and cat foods.
I believe the chronic inflammation of the GI tract is directly linked to GM diet.
When we wean our animals on to species inappropriate, toxic, dry, inorganic, chemically laden foods that have been genetically altered, we cannot expect a health outcome.
Most GMOs are engineered for the purpose of allowing the crop to be sprayed with Roundup herbicide and not have the crop die. The Roundup is sprayed on the crops and it gets absorbed into the food, which is then consumed.
And so I started looking a little bit more into what was in these pet foods. And one of the things we found was there are a lot of pesticides in there. The increase in, pesticides and other problematic things in the food that's been slowly, sort of insidiously put into the pet food, I think that's made a huge difference in the fact that we've had this epidemic.
The primary toxin in Roundup is called glyphosate. The World Health Organization has classified glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen. But they also said for animals, it's not probable, it does cause cancer.
At 10 and a half, he had developed hemangiosarcoma, which was pretty heartbreaking for us.
And then we're seeing cancer rates going so unbelievably high. From me seeing one cancer case maybe per month to seeing several per day, there's got to be some correlation there. I had no idea, and I don't think I really understood it until I stopped animals from eating food that has pesticides in it and saw the difference in their health. Suddenly developing cancer in 1 out of every 2 animals, there's got to be something we're doing, and I'm pretty sure we're feeding carcinogens to our pets, and that's what glyphosate is.
If you have a pet that is sick, degenerating, or dying, that one of the easiest, simplest, most common sense things you can do is get the toxins out of their food to reduce the chemical burden that the animal's having to bear, but also to provide an opportunity for detoxification to occur.
Sometimes if we just simply get rid of everything else and start on a GMO-free diet, over a course of a very short amount of time, you'll see amazing results.
Minnie was off the GMO. It just made a complete difference in her whole body, her skin, her allergies, the dryness, the hair, her feeling good. I've never seen her feel this good ever.
She's now eating much better. She actually runs to the bowl when I put the food in there and she wants to eat it, and she never has done that.
The symptoms started to clear up probably within 4 weeks to 6 weeks of putting them on a non-GMO organic diet.
By about 2 weeks, we started to see an improvement with Murphy, and his digestive issues cleared up.
It was a non-GMO diet, and it was strictly organic, and was an amazing result.
But what's even more amazing is his fur, and he is shiny. He has the most beautiful coat I've ever seen.
In our survey, 3,256 people reported improvements in 28 different conditions after they switched to non-GMO and largely organic diets. An additional 80 people filled out the survey on behalf of their pets, and they found 8 conditions improving on a regular basis.
So the conditions that I've seen improve, and the allergies, gastrointestinal problems, autoimmune diseases, behavior problems, there's just so many conditions that have, in a very obvious way, improved when we take the animals off of these GMO-laden, glyphosate-ridden foods and we put them on something that's more organic and natural. It's a dramatic change. The best way I know is to spend less money on medication and more money on food. And what that means to me is to say, feed organic, feed foods that are organic, feed foods that are non-GMO. It will make a difference. It matters if you do the right thing nutritionally. We have a huge component of older animals living well because they're eating appropriate foods.
We need to make changes. We need to think differently, we need to change our belief systems, and we need to create the consumer demand for the very foods that will enable our pets to live the longest, healthiest life possible. And until we make that line in the sand, it's not going to happen.
I see the creation of GMOs, genetic engineering biotechnology, as the last step for the human species to tamper with the Earth's regulatory and creative processes. It's the invasion on the sanctity of life, purely for human profit.
I love it when I hear a pet owner tell me that they've changed their diet and now the animal is healthier and more vibrant. Veterinarians tell me that many of these animals live much longer. This is exciting news, but not enough people know about it. That's why, at the Institute for Responsible Technology, we've created a campaign to protect pets from the health dangers of GMOs, Roundup, and other pesticides. We'd like to provide you with free information, including test results from pet foods. Go to petsandgmos.com and find out if the pet food that you're feeding your animal contains GMOs, Roundup, or other toxic chemicals. Learn how to read labels. Learn how to make healthier choices. Go to petsandgmos.com and consider making a donation to our nonprofit so we can continue to keep you up to date and get this information out to millions of people who love and care for their animals. Safe eating.